Okay, now we got cut off on that last bit. I want to apologize for the camera cutting off. But anyway, we said hair, right? We got in the hair. And it says hair. Basically, in the word, it says, look at this. It says, interesting. It says her. Now, often attributive. Her, right? What do you mean her? Is an M on that. It says a slender thread-like outgrowth of the epidermis of an animal, right? Especially one of the usually pigmented. Look at that. Pigmented filaments, right? So we wanted to get into that because we know what pigmentation, you know what pigmentation is, right? Pigmentation is basically your melanin. So the more melanin you have, the more pigmented you are. You know what I mean? If you don't have no pigmentation, you would be basically like pale, right? But pigmentation, the more pigmentation, the darker or the blacker you are, right? So now, getting into that, right? About one losing. Now, what we want to do is, if you go look up what they call 1331, right? Let's say we went and put in 1331. You understand? And we'll probably have to do another presentation on that. 1331. But let's go and see if we can go into that real quick. Into 1331. Because it's something interesting. You understand about the year, what they call 13. Now, if you put 1331, right? Basically, 1331, straight up in the Google. Let's see where it'll take us. So we went to the wiki 1331. This is what you basically get here. Alright? There's something interesting about 1331. What is this thing about 1331? Remember, that was Leviticus 13, right? Leviticus 13 and 31. Wasn't that? Where is that? Let's make sure. So, yes, 1331. That's the first place black is mentioned. And when it's mentioned as in being plucked out. So remember, so all in the scripture, right? Not until you get to the book of Leviticus is when black is first mentioned, and when it is mentioned, it's mentioned as being plucked out, as if it was already there. This is what you need to understand about this scripture right here, and what it's trying to say. You understand about black being plucked out. There's something interesting. There's a link with Bible numbers. You understand? Bible numbers are real significant. They do lead to clues. You understand? That's why I do my own research on these things before I bring the presentations for it. But anyhow, now, basically, what it says is no black hair. No black hair. Now, there was something that people at around this time was when they said the first people to catch leprosy were the first black Hebrews, or those first black Jews were the first ones to catch what they call this type of leprosy. You understand? You understand? Well, black hairs were basically being plucked out. But look at this. Let's go to Wiki, right? And let's go to what we say 1331. It takes us, it says, was a common year, look, starting on Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Link will display the full calendar of the Julian calendar. Check this out. Now, let's go to it. What they call the Julian calendar. Let's see what pops up. Okay, now, some interesting. The Julian calendar was the calendar in right? Check this out. Look at this. Predominant. Pre-what? Gentile dominated? Pre-white dominated, right? Interesting. Predominant use. Now, for them, they say predominant, right? And for us, we say that's basically in dominant times for us. It'd be in dominant. Now, they say predominant, right? That's the use of most of Europe. Look at that, right? Predominant use of most of Europe until it was superseded. Now, this is interesting because they use the word superseded by Gregorian. Because there's something interesting about the word superseded, which they shouldn't have used in this instance. Because superseded basically means overcome by basically a Gregorian calendar. And it wasn't overcome, it was always there. It's still there. The Julian calendar is still there. There's people who still go by the Julian calendar. If it was overcome, then it would be overcome worldwide. And it's not. It's only on the Western Hemisphere and certain other places that this calendar is mainly used, but the main calendar in use, right, from original time will be the Julian calendar. It will be the Julian calendar. But now there's something else interesting. Something else interesting about the word superseded, because that's what Einstein basically did to Isaac Newton's law of gravity. He superseded it with the law of relativity. In case you don't know that. You understand? In case you don't know that. Take note of that, because gravity is really some bullshit. Right? Now, it says, Gregorian calendar commencing, right, in 1582, right, continued to be used as the civil, here we go, calendar in some countries into the 20th century. Now it says the Julian calendar has been replaced by the Gregorian calendar in all countries which formerly used it as the civil calendar. Most Christian, okay, it says most Christian denominations, right? But there's something else that was interesting about this that we went into. That was very interesting about the Julian calendar we went into. It says most Christian denominations have also replaced it with the Gregorian, which is a fuck up. Now understand that. It says most Christian, alright? Over here, what it says, what does it say to that? That's interesting. Most Christian denominations, right, have also replaced it with the Gregorian calendar as the basis for their liturgical calendars, which is a no. You understand? Because then you read out the Hebrew, which is the Eastern, and you read out the Ethiopic. And now you have this your own calendar. That's how you get out of time, out of balance of time, because you're out of time. You don't know original time. You understand? You know fixed time or made up time. You understand? Now, there's a lot more interesting things that it says in this, but there's something else we want to go to, because that's not what we had got into. But what we got into was this number right here. This number, which is 1331, because there's something significant about that number. That says Roman numerals in the numeric system in ancient Rome. Pay attention to that. Uses combination of letters from Latin alphabet, the Latin alphabet to signify value, right? But let's see. Make sure the page, we're trying to get to the right place. Okay, there's something interesting about 1331. Now let me see if we go down a little bit, because there was something earlier when I was looking into this that I caught. That was very, very much so interesting. And I believe, was it down here where they talk about pre-Rome? No, okay. No, what we had done was, it says pre-Roman, ancient Rome. Although Roman numerals are now written with letters of Roman alphabet, they were originally independent symbols. Now, that's a little bit, we don't want to mix up anything. So what we want to do is, basically, we want to go up here, and we want to put, in here, the Carthaginian Wars. Alright, because it immediately leads us that way. Alright, because there was a reason that I did that, went into the Carthaginian Wars, because like I said, 1331, basically there's a calendar that they have, right? There's a calendar that they have, okay? And the calendar, basically, that they have, it shows you basically around the Macedonian time, a little bit after that, a little bit around the area where they basically had eliminated basically a whole era, basically. Almost like they said they eliminated, like when what they call the Hellenistic, or like when Alexander the Great and that whole thing about 300 was coming in. There's a real story behind that. But anyway, all of that leads to basically the Julio-Claudio dynasty and the Pale Horse and his rider, like William Cooper, like the book by William Cooper called The Pale Horse, right? Now, here we go here. What we want to do, let's see if we found that in what we were looking at earlier, the Carthaginian Wars. Because it's something interesting, like I say. And if you notice, they don't talk about the Carthaginian Wars very much, do they? No, they don't get very deep into that. because there's something about that. You know what I'm saying? Because it reveals a time of the older world, basically that reveals the truth about this whole, basically where the Greeks really, where it basically show you where the Greeks originate. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, they have something against the name Barca or Baraka, something to that degree, right? Okay. Wars. So let's go look up this. It's the Punic Wars. Alright? Now, okay, check this out. This is what we were reading earlier. Okay. This is what we were reading earlier. It says the Punic Wars were a series of 3 wars fought. Check this out. Between Rome and Carthage. Very, very important time in history, because this is the turning point for basically the black man and the whole decline. This area is basically where a lot of it happened. All right, here goes 264 BC to 146 BC. But Hannibal was such a great fighter that he basically brought about a term called, in war that they use, called annihilation. Did you know that? If you didn't, yes, he was the one who did that, a black man. Baraka, or Barak. At the time, see, there's something interesting about the name Baraka and Barak. They were probably the largest wars that had ever taken place. The term Punic comes from the Latin word, right? Punicus, or basically to say Phoenician, or Poenicus. Poenicus, or Phoenician, right? Phoenician, because really that Phoenician, let's get into that Phoenician, because the Phoenician is what they call like Xerxes. It's dealing with that, like that 300 area. That 300 area where they try to say Xerxes look like a punk and all that shit. That's bullshit. And be careful whose side you picking. If you might not want to pick any side in that situation. You know what I mean? But that, you know, they try to make Xerxes look like a punk, whatever, and that. But we known or read otherwise, not just what they try to retell history with, to try to tell their side. So it says Phoenicia, right? Now this is something interesting. It says from the Greek, right? Phonic was an ancient Semitic civilization situated on the western, right, coastal part of the Fertile Crescent and centered on the coastline of modern Lebanon. All major Phoenician cities were on the coastline of the Mediterranean. Some colonies reaching the western Mediterranean. Now, there's something interesting about this, is that the Phoenicians, right, what I'm trying to get to is it says something real interesting here, okay? Because right here, basically, it says right here, we're going to get to this right here. It says Mediterranean from 1550 BC to 300 BC, right? The Phoenicians used the galley, right? Now, so we went and looked up, well, what is a galley? What is a galley, right? And it's this type of boat right here, basically. This type of boat, like that boat you seen in Helen of Troy. It's very questionable about Achilles and all that, and the arrowhead hitting his heel and the serpent biting at the heel of the. You know, it's just there's a lot of mix up in these stories because of the basically the white race's lies. Know what I mean? But there was something else. There was a calendar. There's a calendar that I had ran across that was very, very interesting. And in this calendar, basically it gave you a timeline description, right, of basically when they basically had basically tried to eliminate, or they tried to take out the old calendar, or they basically did do that. You understand? Because they had the new set of Greeks who were coming in. The Roman, or the classical age of Greece that was coming into play. You understand? The whole classical age of Greece, because there's something interesting about that when you get into the ages of Greece. Okay? And Phoenicia, Greece, Carthage, and then it says in Rome until the 4th century AD, after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, galleys formed the mainstay Byzantine navy. Now, let's go over here. Let's get back. You understand? Because one thing about Rome and Western civilization is that basically it never went anywhere. We're living in Rome right now. It's like it was a football player on TV talking about that. We're not gladiators. This isn't Rome. Yes, it is. Fuck are you talking about? This is Rome. You get paid millions and millions of dollars to bash somebody's head in. You know what I'm saying? This is Rome, brother. You know what I'm saying? Whether you play football, basketball, you're overworked, you're overdone, and you get paid millions and millions of dollars to basically be a gladiator. And then the arena is shaped just like one of the old arenas back in Rome. Look at the damn football field. What's wrong with you? Are you silly? Yes, this is Rome, and they do consider you a gladiator, and you are a slave, basically, because you are their money. You are their slave. You understand? Just like they had slaves back in ancient Rome. Just like you ever seen that show Spartacus? You understand? Even though he was a black man. But, you know, that's something else too right there. They won't tell you that. Same thing about Achilles. You know what I mean? Same little story we get about Achilles, but I really don't want to get all up into that right now because I'm looking for something very specific that I want to show. That's important at the moment that I wanted to show here. Okay? Because like I said, there's a certain type of calendar that basically shows how certain things were done. Let's see if we go back and look up 1331 again, see what we get. Okay, now they want to slow the computer down. They're trying to play games. So what we'll do is we'll do another presentation and we'll put together all these elements because there's so many elements to put together. But we basically want to make that vid that I had planned to do with Miss Robin Robinson, and being that we had made the vid on October 15th and see her that she was released. What they say Wednesday afternoon from reading in one of the articles. Okay, so now that we got this, we just pop back up here. Okay, 1331, and let's see if we can get. Okay, this might be. One of these might be actually it. What the eye was in earlier. Let's see why it take a little time to load up. Alright, now, okay, the common years, alright, let's go up, see if we can find it real quick. I don't know, take up too much, be wasting time messing around. Okay, now I think this says ancient Rome right here, right? Okay. Which is something interesting about ancient Rome as well. Okay, but basically they did a takeover around the time of the Carthaginian Wars and the Punic Wars, and it's just interesting that year 1331 because it's something how it brings you to all this. Okay, now we have right here where it says liturgical calendar. Let's see if this is the one that I was looking at. No. Oh, definitely not. That's something else right there. Okay, let's see the revised Julian calendar. Okay, here we go. I believe, I want to say it was this. What basically speaks about it. And I will probably have to go back and look over again. And it basically gives you a breakdown from how the old calendar was and basically how it was changed over to. And remember this, the Gregorian calendar is also called the Western calendar. That's another something to basically remember. But like I said, okay, here we go. This might be it. Nah, the Gregorian reform. Okay, yeah, then we'll do another vid because we don't waste too much time, and we'll get it all together. But I and I want to find that. But I want to say shalom and Rastafarian, and may God bless Miss Robin Roberts and all our sisters, our Hebrew black sisters, and like other brothers have said, and other of our brothers and sisters have said, every day is Mother's Day. You know, to our itties, our inatis, our mitas. You understand? And our our fathers. In the name of the Yehoshua HaMashiach, Nekeramawi, Haile Selassie Beruku. Amen, amen. And Rastafari and Shalom.